to coordinate a time with Aaron to discuss it, but the node's been ready for a little bit of time now.
Cool. Great. If you just send me a like an address, I'll send you some coins, and then you can create a validator.
Okay, great.
Did your validator get jailed, Chris, or?
Not that I saw today.
Okay, it looks like you have uptime 99%, but at some point, there's a little red. This validator has been jailed and is not currently validating. There's a little red working on Mooney,
as well as this one.
as opposed to appeal to as well as appeal to heaven. So we have two people that for some reason got jailed. I'm not sure what happened.
Could you send the link in the chat, or just tell me the link again to the Explorer?
Yeah, I'll chat it here and
Yeah, I saw it was like at 99.98% earlier today. Yeah, this looks like everybody was at 100, but like me and maybe that one other was not.
Okay, so there's the Looney link, and you can see, yeah, everybody's got pretty good uptime, but it's possible maybe if you had an issue where at first you had the old binary version, and then maybe it, yeah, there was some consensus. I don't know.
Is uptime calculated since, what's the uptime window? Because, you know, like on a lot of Explorers, it's maybe like the last few hours or something, or last 50 blocks, or last 100 blocks. What's the window for this one?
Last 10,000 blocks.
10,000? Okay.
Cool. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, I guess it's something to look into what's happening with the jailing, and I just use the default parameters in Genesis. I should probably go through and check and see what happened and what parameter was set that caused you to get jailed.
Yeah, so I'm looking at my page itself. Yeah, I didn't see it there.
Yeah, your actual page looks like it's green, but for whatever reason it's showing up as jailed on the general block explorer validator view.
Which page is that?
Well, just then when we were just on your actual validator page, it was showing up as green.
I sent a link in the Zoom chat.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's where it was. Wow.
But then when you
Now it says you're actually validating. So it could actually be an issue with
But then here it says it's
Looney. I don't know. Looney not. Yeah, it's confusing. And I'm not sure where in the CLI. Like I'm trying to see where. If anybody knows where in the CLI I can see that.
Yeah, you would do CLI. Usually CLI status and your voting power. If your voting power is not 0, it means you're up.
But to check it for you.
Oh yeah, I'd have to check hold on, I'll check my own CLI. But yeah, as long as you see a non-zero voting power and where you're looking, then that indicates that I'm up.
Yeah, it does say that you're jailed though. It says jailed is true.
Huh. My VPS provider was going through some upgrades to patch some kernels, so I wonder if they rebooted that. But I can look into that outside of the call too.
But Chris, did you have it on a system MD file? So when the Linux restarted, the R&D started again? Maybe you was offline, I don't know, 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, no, I didn't yet. I didn't put it in systemd yet, but I'll do that now. Yeah, back when we got them up and running, I just ran it in the screen and left the process going.
Mm.
So that could be what happened. Okay, but I can look into it and let you know. I'm going to try and unjail now, I guess.
Cool. Well, so I'd like to check in with people that are validating that are on the call. When would be a good time to coordinate an upgrade? Would sometime early next week? I guess that's what I'm thinking. Maybe sometime early next week.
That works for me.
Okay. So we would first need to do like a governance proposal. I would probably submit the governance proposal, and then there will be 4-day window that people can vote over. And then after those 4 days will be when the upgrade actually happens. So I want to do it in such a way that we have like the upgrade prepared and like the committed upgrade ready when I submit the proposal. So with what I'm thinking of submitting as an upgrade, I think I can probably have it ready by the end of this week, like Friday. So maybe if I submit the proposal on Monday, that would mean we'd have from Monday through Thursday to vote on it. And then maybe it actually makes sense to do the actual upgrade like the following week. We'll do it on Friday. Like not this Friday, but the next Friday. What do people think about that time frame?
Fridays could be a tough day to coordinate an upgrade, especially given time differences. Maybe we do it Monday, following Monday.
So like Monday, July 1st, is that, how does that sound for people?
That works. Yeah, that's good here.
For me, it's okay.
Okay. Cool. So I think I'll like, since there's some people that aren't on this call, I'll post that in the Telegram channel and just, yeah, see if there's anybody that, that doesn't work for, and then we're going to just do we'll just do a governance process. It could be that governance decides not to do the upgrades, which is, but Monday I'll plan on posting the proposal. Cool. All right. So I'd like to go over a bit and just get people's, any input that people have on what I'm proposing to do for as the upgrade is, the content of the upgrade itself. It's part of what we worked on in the hackathon. The other part was a integration of a WASM virtual machine, but this is related more to sort of key management, or even could be used for setting up DAOs. Just posting the gist again. So has anybody had a chance to look through this little gist yet at all? No, I guess. So maybe I could do a quick, share my screen and do a quick little overview. Okay. So maybe first just a bit about the motivation for this, like what use cases we're trying to cover here. One use case is shared management of funds. So, similar to multi-sig, except that this group structure allows you to change the members of the group. So the way a multi-sig is currently done, you have to take the hash of the keys, and that forms the address. And here groups get auto-assigned an address, and that's uncorrelated to the members. And then you can update the group, changing weights, adding, removing keys or addresses, and setting a different decision threshold. groups themselves are accounts. They can have coins, and they also have their own account address, which means that groups can be nested. So you can have one group that also points to some other groups underneath. And they can make proposals. This is currently a pretty simple voting mechanism. There's no kind of, like in the governance, there's no like voting window that's predefined or deposits currently in the current behavior, because it's pretty close to just multi-sig as opposed to like, having some of the other things the governance module has. And the proposal can be for any messages that can be sent back to the router. And the router will basically check if the message is a message that's signed by the group. So because a group can't actually sign messages itself, it will take actions via proposals, and those will get passed back to the router. And the way they get routed is through this delegation module. I'll get into that in a little bit, but some of the use cases are it could be a group, like an organization like that has like 3 people that are responsible for funds. It could also be just a generic group of keys that could be used by an individual user to set up something like a multi-factor authentication, like a key on a smartphone and a key on a laptop that need to sign together. I've imagined lots of different scenarios this sort of functionality could be used. Wondering, if anybody has any questions or comments from what I've said on this part here. If nobody has anything, I'll move on to this delegated actions and delegated permissions. Basically what we're doing is we're allowing for generic delegation of any operation on the blockchain. This is how you execute a delegated action. Basically, it can be any messages that can be passed to the router. But you would basically need to, if you were gonna, you could submit an action using another address as if you were that address. So you could impersonate impersonate an actor if you got delegated that capability. Capabilities are generic and extensible. All you have to do is implement this interface here. And you specify the message type. So even if a message has been defined in another module, you can still define a send a capability for that message. So this is an example for message send, which allows another account to spend a certain amount of your account's coins. And once it updates itself as you're spending the coins, and once you've spent that amount of coins, you lose the capability. There could be other configurations for other types of capabilities you could set up for sending coins, like maybe a certain amount you're allowed to spend per week from that account or something. The accept has access to the block header, so you can tell how much time has passed. And this is basically where proposals get routed to this delegation router, so that you can make a proposal to do something that maybe a group has been delegated. Like if it's a lower permission action, say you want to allow another person to vote on your proposals, but you don't want to let them spend your coins, or another group to vote on proposals, you could use this delegation functionality.
Aaron, how does this relate to the bharvest proposal around delegated permission?
Yeah, bharvest has subkeys. I reviewed that a few weeks ago before I well, I mean, before I went to the hackathon, so it's not super fresh. And I reviewed it after I had done this design. This design evolved over the weekend, but anyway. So my understanding is of what they're doing and what we're doing is that this is more generic, more extensible. Like they just had they had a filter on routes. Like you could, delegate permissions as a subkey for certain routes, but it didn't have a lot of other sort of like criteria. They did have a thing where you could have fees, like a fee limit and a fee allowance. So I have another part of this is around delegated fees, and I think which would probably make nesting hard. This allows for nesting of groups, and we actually wired up when we got WASM contracts working. We wired the WASM contracts into this delegation router, so you could have you could delegate spending coins to a contract. So I think there's a lot of things you can do with this functionality.
I guess one of my questions is coming from the fact that Zaki and other community members are really excited about what having subkeys or a more extensible approach like this opens up in terms of sort of the DeFi staking, like derivatives and other things that it makes possible. And I'm just curious, like given that, and given that this is a test net, and given that we're wanting to play around with things that hopefully are broadly applicable and useful and exciting to the Cosmos Hub and other zones, what could we be testing about this in the coming, like given my thought is, we're basically going to go through a governance vote. We're going to bring this online. We're going to test the smooth path upgrade, right? Yeah. And then once this is online, I'm just thinking like, what's an exciting way to be using it or playing with it that could provide information to the larger community?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Yeah, we're doing our own test net, but we're working on things. Both the upgrade module and this are things that I would, like to get upstreamed into Cosmos SDK and, possibly Cosmos Hub. So yeah, I mean, how can we, what would be something useful to test?
So that's a sort of sandbox test question for everybody on the call. And, I'll probably try to ask that to the, more public forums as well. But, just like, how could we be playing with this in a way that, maybe tests vulnerabilities, et cetera, and that's I don't know that we have a answer to that. And I think we have a week or two to be thinking about that, but perhaps we'll be sort of gearing our incentivized test net, our first incentivized test net, to be playing around with some of this stuff. I think that could be kind of fun. So any thoughts from people on the call about that, or questions about what Aaron has sort of walked through in terms of the functionality?
Yeah, or comments on the design, or yeah.
I'll probably need to set some time aside to take a look at it, and then put some feedback out there.
Same for me. Did you test it a bit at Hackathon?
Yeah, we tested a bit that it was working, but we didn't test. We didn't battle test it. I mean, it was a 2-day hackathon, and so it was a lot to get this plus the WebAssembly working in 2 days. But yeah, it seems like it works. I mean, we tested it, that it works.
So for sure, after we deploy it, it's gonna be tested, and probably if we can find, I don't know, some bugs or exploits, would be good.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you could use it to, I don't know, like, yeah, what exploits,
First, we need to understand how it works. Maybe after we try to exploit it.
Yeah.
At the moment, I do not understand how it works, so So it's going to be hard to think of an exploit.
Cool. So there's a call scheduled for next Tuesday. Again, maybe the thing to do is like between now and next Tuesday, people can think of, review the design, think of things we might test or try to, exploit against this. And then maybe I'll actually set the governance proposal right after the call next Tuesday, so that the governance proposal is informed by what people say in the meantime. And then we have from Tuesday through Friday to vote about an upgrade on Monday. How does that sound as an approach?
Yeah, I should be able to get to it before next Tuesday.
Great. The other part of this I wanted to talk about is fee delegation. So fee delegation is very similar to like action delegation. Both of them have the model that like one account grants something to another account, but instead of like kind of working with the message router, fees interact with the anti-handler. So I actually should add something to this gist around how I changed I had to change the standard TX type to allow for fee allowances. And maybe I should maybe just pull up how I did that. So we currently have a fork that we use for the hackathon. Our team is called the Gaians. But I'm going to try to pull out these commits here into like maybe cherry pick them into PR for the Cosmos SDK. A lot of stuff we worked on that was not all with one PR. So yeah, standard TX. Let me get our branch. Hack out a branch. So I added here to standard TX a fee account. So if there's a fee account in the standard TX, the anti-handler will check. I did this in standard TX, and then for the anti-handler, there's a fee delegation handler that gets passed into the anti-handler, and it has a function allow delegated fees. So basically, if somebody assigned their transaction and said, this is the account I want to pay my fees, the anti-handler will check if this grantee has been allowed by the grantor to spend these coins. And then the implementation for that is here in this delegation module where you can give allowances. You can give fee allowances, which implement this interface to another address. And it can have the same model, for instance, where you could have a spend limit. You can say, okay, I'll allow you to spend like, 10 atoms worth of fees, but then you're done. Or in the bharvest proposal, they had a thing where you could have a daily spend limit. But you can set up whatever you want. You can set up whatever type of fee allowance you want, because you just need to implement this interface in your zone. So to me, it seems like it's it's an elegant solution. And I think the difference is that, like, in the bharvest proposal, it was like hard coded that it was just like a daily spend limit, and this kind of just lets you set up whatever fee allowance and you want. And so having this sort of functionality, like also just being able to delegate it to anybody, means that you could have like a large organization that has lots of people working for the organization, and they could all just be spending fees. Like in our use case, they would be signing ecological claims. So you could have a large organization of ecological claim verifiers, and the owners of the company own the master account, but they delegate fees to everybody that's working for them. And then people can have smartphones where they don't have any tokens on the smartphones, but they can sign claims without having to worry about tokens. And they can actually be delegated the permission by the group, delegated permission by their organization to sign claims for that organization. So the idea here is just to set up an infrastructure that allows for, I think first and foremost, the usage of blockchain technology by people that don't understand keys and don't want to deal with key management. So, and don't want to deal with tokens. So the idea here is that a lot of this, I think, can help with adoption of actual adoption of dApps. You have farmers, you have verifiers. They don't have to own the tokens themselves. Their employer owns them and just delegates the abilities. And they don't have to worry about their wallets because they don't have any coins in their wallets. They just have the permission to sign some reports. And their employer manages whether their key is allowed or not. And if they lose their phone, their employer just says, okay, well, we revoke that permission for that phone. We'll give you permission for another phone, and everybody's happy. And the burden is at the top level of an organization rather than an every individual user. That's sort of, my overview of the tech design and the use case. Any comments or questions on that?
So there is no limit to the fee allowance, or I understood wrong?
Yeah, there's no limit on the type of fee allowance you can create. You can implement, this is a basic fee allowance that just sets a spend limit. But you could have a daily spend, you could have a different type of fee allowance, which is a daily limit, or you could have a weekly limit, or you could have an hourly limit or something like that. Or you could have, whatever kind of structure you want to set up for that purpose. You could have a per transaction fee allowance. You could say you can't spend any more than, whatever, an atom as fees in a transaction. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Any other comments, questions?
Can you also set a number of transaction limit?
Yeah, sure.
Conceivably, could you, if somebody's a verifier, that they're going to be verifying a certain number of jobs every week, and then so there's a fee limit and there's a number of verification limits. So they're on the back end, they're app limited to making those 5 transactions essentially.
Yeah, that might be a good way to do it. That's you could send a per transaction fee limit. You can say you can't, because I think there's ways where it's if you had if there's some way you could get a really big fee into a transaction.
Exactly.
So I think the thing is you want to probably, a good allowance would probably be something that has a per transaction fee limit, and then is rate limited. It's maybe per day you can't make more than 100 transactions, and none of the fees can be greater than 1 atom or something. So it's or maybe probably even smaller, probably even significantly smaller, so that it's it would be really hard to just drain the wallet with just, you would have pretty good control over what.
But that is a big potential surface area for people messing up. So that might be something that we play around with. Is what are all the ways that you could, game game that. Interesting.
Yeah, question. I think though, if you have this spend limit, even there's just this basic allowance. If you say that it's 10 atoms is your spend limit, then once you hit 10 atoms, no matter, even if you were able to find a single transaction that had a 10 atom fee, then you're done. Like you're cut off. Like, so I think, yeah, I think I think there's ways we can avoid it, but yeah, I think that would be where we can try to figure out, maybe there are ways we can exploit it. Like, and let's try to think about that. You know, maybe in the course of this week, while I'm working on kind of doing some enhancements to this and kind of better testing this week, we can create a few allowance types. If anybody has any idea for like what would be a good allowance policy for fees. Because yeah, I mean, we want to have some good defaults in the system for users. Yeah.
So just to reiterate, we're going to get a governance proposal ready for next Tuesday, and in the interim week, you know, we can chat about pluses and minuses, and it's sort of like the conversation in some way is going to be about kind of like what we're going to be upgrading and how, you know, how it might be useful for the larger Cosmos ecosystem, what's great about it, what's not great about it.
Yeah.
Just kind of as if we were, you know, as it like we're simulating upgrading our network, like what are the threats, what are the opportunities. So we'll have this week to just sort of socialize and talk about it, and then we'll actually like put it forward as a governance proposal. There'll be we're setting the parameters of voting for 1 week, and then it will close.
Tuesday through Friday.
Yeah, and ideally it will close. I mean, you know, at least for purposes of then testing the smooth path upgrade, we may be thinking it's probably going to close with a yes, because we're all excited to do that. And then we'll run through a chain upgrade with the smooth path upgrade module.
And one thing that we'll probably want to test with the upgrade module is just to see how it works to have governance decide on a predefined time to do an upgrade. Because there was an alternate proposal from you know, talking with some of the Cosmos team that a way that some validators said that they wanted to do it is to signal when they had done the upgrade, and then the upgrade would go live whenever there was a, you know, 70 or 80% of the validators had signaled that they were ready to upgrade.
So I don't. So for example, what we did on Cosmos when we had the exploit for the redelegation, you know.
Yeah.
So we upgraded all with the new version. The new version was set on a block to take effect. So we had to be ready, let's say in 4 hours, 5 hours. Everyone upgraded till that block was calculated till a block. Yeah. So how do you want to make this upgrade? Because I don't understand exactly.
Let's maybe go through that. Actually, how this code for this upgrade.
This will stop the chain if we upgrade it, for example, now.
No. Right. We just find the branch that has it in it.
Sounds a little like, I mean, yeah, if there's this, oh, I see. So instead of going on a certain block, you would go on a certain percentage of stake or voting power.
Well, that would be an alternate way of doing it. That's not how it's currently designed. So
we're thinking of testing a time, an agreed upon.
Yeah. So this is how an upgrade plan looks, and there's a name for the upgrade. There's either a time or a height, and I'm thinking a time would be good. I think that it would be good to have the proposal be for like say, you know, 2 p.m. Eastern on Monday, and we could set that time here. And then what this upgrade does is that when the upgrade goes live, like when you hit 2 p.m. Eastern, every blockchain will stop.
Every
validator will stop. And you will no longer validate any blocks after 2 p.m. Eastern until you load a new module that until you load a new binary, until you start up a new binary that has the new upgrade. So you'll know exactly what time it's going to be that you have to perform the upgrade, and you can even prepare your machine in advance. You can, download it and build the software before beforehand. But then at 2 p.m. Eastern, either everybody has to have an automated script to make the switch, or everybody needs to be on at that time and then just start up the new binary.
Yeah, they start. But why don't? So do you like this, or do you want just to test it?
I mean, I want to test and see how this works. I mean, it seems like it makes sense. I think it seems like having a fixed time is not a bad idea, but want to see.
I think we want to we'll see how it goes, and it's also useful to maybe test other ways too in successive test nets.
Okay.
Yeah, I can link to this documentation and I'll put it on Telegram.
Yeah, I remember from my own experience when these upgrades are announced, at least having some type of manageable window to do them feels to me to be the most important factor.
Yeah. So does having a predefined time, is that manageable? Like if it's 2 p.m. on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd rather do it that way than how the voting power metric, because then, I mean, this is my own personal circumstance. I feel like I can work that into a workflow as opposed to feel like, I have to race everybody else to make sure that I'll be online as soon as everybody else comes online.
Right, that's a good point. Because then if you were in like the last, 20% or whatever, you don't know, right? Like you could then get slashed because you were like weren't paying attention and they all upgraded really quickly.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, so like you're either paying attention or some of the bigger validators have people watching this stuff all the time. I watch it as much as I can. Some of the smaller people are in the same boat. So yeah, just being able to catch it in a window that says, okay, I can do this. Yeah, I mean, just like I said, I don't have to race to keep up with everybody. I can do it as long as I do it by a certain time, then we're good. That feels more comfortable to me, at least.
I think that's a great point, actually. I hadn't considered that, and my initial thought was that predefined time, and then some of the I think Rigel was mentioning, some other people had been saying that it should be this sort of signaling thing, and I was like, okay, that's also a good idea. Like it didn't occur to me that could be problematic, but I think it's useful that I want to go, update the PR and tell them like that's maybe they haven't even considered that problem.
It just seems logical, but I think we could also try it. We could kind of try it both ways, but for now, let's just try the time. It's a good thing to test.
Does anybody else have any other perspective or opinion on that? That time versus the signaling method.
So my experience with the height was the best, for example. Even though it was at 5 a.m. in the morning, yeah, for me that's not very convenient, but everyone had time to upgrade it and just stand by, not race it. So for example, we are shutting down at 10 p.m. Everybody needs to be online at 12 p.m. So we have just 2 hours to make the upgrade, or I don't know, do your stuff, be there.
Okay. So, I mean, what this would do is it would basically say like this sets a time that the node shut down, or a height. I mean, you could do this with either a height or a time. And yeah, I mean, I guess it could be either that people just start the new binary right away, like at 10 p.m. Everybody starts the new binary as soon as possible. It could be that like there's
a
just
30-minute window or whatever.
Yeah, I mean the thing is with that is like there needs to be the idea I think here is that you upgrade as soon as possible after that. I mean, I guess there could be some community consensus that it's going to take people time, you know, but
you can prepare. If you know what time it is, you can have everything prepared. It shouldn't be a big lab.
Right.
yeah, like if you know the time, that's helpful. Like, because block height, you don't know when the block height is going to come, right? But
Yeah, I mean, timing would be, yeah, if you're talking timing versus block height, timing would be ideal.
yeah, my preference is time. I think time is going to be, you know, just more predictable. Like I can put it in my calendar, and just
Let's put it to a vote.
what?
Let's put it to a vote.
Put it to a vote. Yeah.
No, I prefer anything, yeah, for testing purposes.
Cool. So, all right. That's good information. If you haven't taken a look at this documentation, I think it would be good to, you know, just take a quick look so you see how it works different than the current behavior. Like, we wouldn't be dumping the state. We would just be stopping one binary and restarting another binary. And there's actually these will upgrade and on upgrade callbacks. Actually, the will upgrade callbacks, I disabled them because I was having problems predicting when it was going to happen. I may get rid of the will upgrade callback, but that would be just a way of notifying. I think it's actually unnecessary, but it would be a way of notifying the system like as soon as the governance decision was made. But there is an on upgrade callback, which means that you can place a script in your config directory on your node. So you can go in xrnd/config and you can place a script just called do upgrade. And as soon as you hit that upgrade time or height, your binary will stop validating blocks. All the binaries will stop. But they'll also call that do upgrade script if it's there. So you can put in some automatic logic to just automatically upgrade your node if you wanted to. And I actually have, I haven't tested the last version of this to see if it's working, but I was pretty close to getting it working. I'm using NixOS, which is like a deterministic, like it's a Linux distribution that has deterministic configuration. And I have scripts here that will automatically upgrade the whole OS and everything based on a git commit hash. So in the in this upgrade plan, I can put some info in here, which could be like some JSON with a git commit hash. And so theoretically in the future, you could just know that there's going to be a JSON like commit hash here, and just like you could do something like take the commit hash, pull it from Git, build it, and just apply automatically. So that's, but you could set it up however you want. If you put a script in your config directory, then it will get called. If not, you will either do it manually. Either way, I think you'd always want to be attentive to, you know, because your script could get called and fail. So then you have to do manual stuff. But it could make things, I don't know. Just some stuff to test out and see how it works. I want to try to have this NixOS thing working for myself. I'm going to try to test that myself to see if I can do an automatic, like unattended upgrade. But yeah, that's sort of some of the options that you get with this approach. And if there's any like state changes that are needed, there's an upgrade handler that gets called as soon as your new binary starts. There will be an upgrade handler that could do any state conversions that are needed instead of like the previous like exporting new Genesis file, new chain, and like losing the transaction history. Just perform all those migrations in the upgrade handler. So yeah, a few of the things that are enabled. Any comments or questions on any of that? Cool. If anybody is, if nobody has anything, we can wrap up the meeting. I know Rick was asking questions about my WASM stuff, but I think he left, so I can chat with him about that another time.
If you have a couple minutes to help me in jail here, that would be cool.
Cool.
I think you are unjailed, Chris.
Am I now?
I think you are.
Let's see. I was showing just a second ago 0 voting power, but
it says you're on jailed false now.
huh.
You need the period. You need the period to wear off, right? Of the jail.
I'm still showing voting power 0.
This validator does not have enough voting power and is inactive. Huh.
Yeah, so it looks like I did have system D installed, so XRND was running the whole time.
What did I set as the prep? So you have the least amount of voting power because I think you got some slashing maybe. So let's just take a look at, I want to double check my Genesis and see, did I maybe put some like, how many validators are allowed in this set here?
And here's the second transaction I sent. And the command I used.
So it says max validators is 100, so it should be fine. Is there a minimum? This is something to probably ask on like maybe one of the Cosmos Tendermint channels, because I don't think I have enough information to know what to do. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we can just post here like, so when you're querying, it's often useful to just do -o JSON, because there's some things that don't show up the same. I guess that is all showing up there.
Yeah.
The lists.
What's the command to look at my account? Do you know?
Your validator accounts or your?
It's query.
Query?
Yeah, XRNC.
CLI query.
Yeah, query.
Account.
Yeah, account.
What if I don't have enough money to pay gas? Good. Oh. It looks like I have no money. So maybe I wasn't able to pay gas?
Maybe just send them some coins.
Do you need more coins?
Yeah, that's what.
All right, I'll just send you more coins, okay?
Okay. We can continue this in the chat here too.
Yeah, cool.
By the way, you have minimum fees 0, so you can do whatever you want.
I mean, that's what I thought.
You can send the takes without paying fees.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought. I checked the config file.
I have 0, so yeah.
All right, I just sent you more coins, so if you want to, delegate more stuff to yourself, you could do that. Maybe we can continue in Telegram and see if we can maybe bring in, if needed, we could bring in some of the. There's actually a bunch of Cosmos Center people in our Slack, but maybe if not, we can go to like the Cosmos VIP and ask there, because I don't know that.
Okay. Yeah, if we do that, I'll need your help because I'm not sure about all the implementation details on your side.
There's nothing different in the staking on our side.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's exactly identical with everything in Cosmos, this part of it.
Okay.
So any of those guys should be able. I mean, I'm not sure who would be a good person to ask. Like,
Last question: is there a block? Do you have any way to look at transactions right now?
just the CLI. We have I don't know. We don't have we have Looney. So Looney, you can probably see your transactions.
Yeah, like when I go to Big Dipper, this is just how I troubleshoot. You can go to one of the Big Dippers, for example, and if the transaction fails, it sometimes gives you an indication of why it fails.
Is Big Dipper open source? It is, yeah.
I think they did.
So if somebody forked Big Dipper, we can get it working. I can ask on my team if anybody is. Yeah, I mean, if anybody here or anybody on our, is into doing that, or I can ask my team. We just need to fork Big Dipper because it's in a. It's on GitHub, so.
Oh yeah, so for example, if you look right now, and I'll leave you with this, and then we can pick it up. Like it'll indicate a failure and a reason for the failure. But yeah, I mean, we're not in a super big rush as long as I can get this up and running before the upgrade. But it'd be nice to have from a troubleshooting perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I would say let's see if anybody chimes in our Telegram, but if not, let's in one of the. You're in the other Cosmos VIP channel?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's there to help, but this is beyond my.
Okay, no, fair enough. I mean, we can pick it up and I'll learn from it as we go.
Cool. Cool. So great. Well, we'll write it 2 p.m. So cool. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. See you guys in Telegram or next week. So.